Joy.
Good evening, Steve. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. How was it?
Quiet. Husband
Quiet.
was in bed. Husband was in bed by 8 o'clock, and I made a cup of tea at 10 to 12.
Oh, that's nice. I'm not a massive fan of New Year. I had a very good one this year, but I'm not a massive fan of New Year.
I didn't know which
Um,
was saddest, to make a cup of tea or to pour myself a G&T and toast in the New Year. As I say, he wasn't well. I wasn't well from sort of Christmas, but I was better by New Year, and then he followed a few days after me. So as I say, he was in bed at 8 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
yeah.
Hey
Okay.
ho.
Well, listen, we'll let the members join us, and again, the chat's there, so people can chat with us and ask questions as well, Joy, if they want. Um, so as people are joining, I'm just going to quickly introduce you, Joy, and what we're trying to highlight and spotlight tonight. This is called a business spotlight. Joy, I'm going to give you a little compliment. You probably don't get enough of them these days, but you
No.
are a very good little worker. I like the way you work just now. It's really good. I've been watching what you're doing, and you've been working really well in the group. And you've got a page with us. You did a business spotlight with us in December, and I think that went quite well for you. You got a lot of good
I did. I
packages.
had sort of the back end of last year, sort of from the fall onwards. For me, aromatherapy always comes into its own really in the dark nights. People like putting burners and diffusers on, and it's sort of really. But I've really tried to make a conscious effort to actually. It's something that I've done it in my clinic. For those that don't know me, my background was as a nurse and then as a McTimoney chiropractor. I am still training in cranial sacral therapy, and I combine a lot of things in my clinic. And essential oils was one of the things that I combined in my treatments, but I never really did any online stuff. Now, it was my birthday yesterday, and last year I turned 60. So it really, with all the things that were going on, it was really, I love my work physically. I'm still able to do it when I can. But it was almost sort of like, how do I prepare that for the time that when I can't physically go in and do adjusting, do a hands-on, whether it's massage, cranial sacral, the McTimoney side of things. So I sort of in last 2020 started to look at how I could bring the aromatherapy to the fore and online. And so really that's what I've been focusing on in the last 4 months, and posting very regularly on the aromatherapy side of things.
Yeah, makes sense. And I know a few customers actually got your packs, and they were really. Sorry, I switched myself off there. I was trying to adjust my sound settings, but let me just double check something here. Yeah, it should be okay. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was trying to say there that people who I bought one of those packs. Jane bought one of those packs, and I know a few people who watched it. So it's kind of living proof that the business spotlight idea works, and
Yes.
you're back again doing another business spotlight. We're using our group as a channel, think shopping channel or whatever, and we're beaming out and talking to people, and they can watch it after the event or they can watch it live. They can ask questions and find out a bit more about what you're doing. But yeah, you've done some great things, and I see the way you work and I really like it. So well done, you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I would say that from that, I've probably got sort of half a dozen, maybe 10 people who will interact on the page, ask questions. When I put a post up, they'll interact with it. So yeah, in the short time, I'm not a social. Well, I say I'm not a social media person. I'm learning how to be a social media person.
I think you're good. You're better
Thank
than you
you.
give yourself credit for, and
Thank
you
you.
you're you work it. I think you work it well, and that's what it needs to happen. A lot of activities in the comments section. The plan that we've got for you, obviously, you get every month we promote your business into the group, and when people talk about it, you're in answering their questions and doing all of that stuff, and that's really, really important. So tell us a bit about your course, because we're here tonight to talk about your course that starts on the 30th of January, is that right?
Starts on the 30th of January. It starts, at the moment, I've picked the Sunday. Now, I've got half a dozen people who have shown an interest. Nobody's been able to actually sign up until tonight, but there are people who have shown an interest. Now, I've picked the Sunday afternoon as a time that people may be able to join me. Now, I may get those half a dozen people and they all say, no, we want to do a Thursday evening. But it'll be launched around about a few days before the new moon. Because for me, the phase of the moon is, so we're not going to start on the first of the month, which might confuse some people, but it'll be around the new moon. And as I say, at the moment it's Sunday, but that could all change once I get the people signed up to then go to them and say, is it okay? And then what we do is 12 oils, so it's an oil a month.
So this is the course here, isn't it? It's called.
That's the course. That's the course that's on the website. They can.
Yeah. So it's Connecting Intimately course. Now that's a discount. So to put people get a bit price sensitive. So let's park price for now and talk about what you're actually doing with the course and what they get, what the benefits are for them. So can you explain a bit about the course?
Yeah, what we will start off, as I say, it's one oil. Now that's just a graphic. They are not the oils that are necessary. Some of them are, most of them are, but not all of them are. They're what we call sacred and precious oils. Now, everything that we know has got an energy field to it. And the sacred and precious oils have a very high frequency vibration rate to them. So you're using them in a very different way. So you're not putting them necessarily in burners or bathing with them or in shampoo, but you're actually using them to tune into the vibration and the energy of the oil and ask. It may sound a bit sort of wacky and woo-woo, but if anybody was it Bruce Lipton? Somebody was talking about woo-woo fairly recently.
Yeah, wacky and woo-woo is where our members are at. Joy,
exactly. It's tuning into the energy and raising your vibration to the energy of the oil to connect to the divine. I think most of us that are in the group will probably say, the church has almost had its day, but people are getting more and more spiritual. They want to connect to that big spirit, divine, God, universal connection, whatever you want to call it. They want to connect to it. We know this is a spiritual battle. It's our physical bodies are the battleground, if you like, but it's a spiritual battle that we are in. And I actually found that, when you say to people just surrender to it, it's like they think surrender is a sort of a passive thing, but it's actually very, very empowering when you just say, okay, I'm just going to hand myself over to do whatever needs to be done at this time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Joy, can I just check? Your screen seems to have frozen there, but are you still there? Just check. Guys, can I check in the chat room? Can you hear me okay? I just want to check that you guys can hear me okay. If you can just type in. Joy, you're back.
Okay.
You're back. You were gone for a second there. Now you're back.
Okay.
Fortunately, you froze in a decent position, so you didn't look too bad when you froze there, but that's fine.
So what we will do is we will take an oil a month, and as I say, it'll be just before the new moon, so that people have got the oil to then work with when the new moon actually comes. Because new moons quite often will come in the middle of the night, and some people want to sit up and actually do it in the real time, and some people might want to do it before or after. And then what we will have will be a Zoom call where there'll be a sort of a prayer, a dedication, a meditation, and then during the call, people will have a chance to, from whatever happens in that meditation, whether they want to write, whether they want to draw, whether they want to, create a song, whatever is their creative medium, they can do directly after. Now, what I have just decided this evening, speaking to you, Steve, is that actually we will then, for those that want to, I will do another get together midway during the month, so probably around the full moon time, and just to say to people, how you doing? If you're getting anything, is there anything you want to share? What you tend to find when you do these things in a group is that there will be a theme going on in the group, or not a theme, because there will be a theme, because each oil has got its properties. It's we're not talking physical properties, so eucalyptus isn't a sacred oil, but if you think of eucalyptus, people will say, oh, it's good for sinuses, it's good for chests, whereas we're taking an oil. So the first oil we will take will be myrtle, which is actually a gatekeeper and protection, because I hear so many healers, spiritual healers, that say they've picked up something from a client that they worked with, and now their hands hurt, or their back hurts, or their knee hurts. And it's like, you're not protecting yourself. When you go into spiritual situations, the first thing you need to do is to put a protection up on, around, whatever word you want to use. So if there are any healers out there and they just want to do the first one, for people that want to pay on a monthly basis, then it's £30 a month. And if people who are spiritual healers, energy workers, light workers, who feel that they want some help protecting themselves, because they've had a client come in and they've been, I was reading something the other day when somebody said, this client left and now my hands are numb. Well, that's, you need to protect yourself before you put your hands on people.
And how does that work then? So the first oil that you're going to look at, let's do a sort of dive into that, is myrtle, Myrtle, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that, I mean, some of the viewers, I'm playing daft laddie here because I don't know as much about it as I'd like to, but a lot of people might not, but might be interested in the spiritual and sacred aspects of it. So tell me about myrtle and what I could expect to get from that first session.
Okay, so before we do any spiritual work, we protect ourselves, as I was talking about. So myrtle is what we will call a gatekeeper. It will keep us safe.
And that's why that's the oil on the first one.
That's the first oil that I would use.
So there is a rationale to the
absolutely
running order.
Absolutely. Yep. So the first thing you need to do is protect yourself. Now, some people have, been taught protection mechanisms, but when you sort of say, do you do this? They go, oh no, I wasn't taught that. So you have to, think a bit. The deeper you go, the more dangerous it gets, the more you need to protect yourself. So we're starting with myrtle, and I say that's a gatekeeper. So myrtle it will recognize the vibration that you, the individual, is at, and recognize where you are safe to go with the tools you already have. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Yeah. So myrtle won't let you go swimming in deep water if it knows that you can't swim. Yeah. So myrtle is like a gatekeeper, because I don't know whether the words, astral traveling and transitioning and going off to, other realms, other dimensions, is something that you personally do. But yes, actually having an oil that will not allow you to go somewhere that you are not prepared for.
And how in practice does that happen then? How does it stop you or prevent you in the real world? Does it send a signal to you, or is it a
it's almost like you might get to a place and you try and go in, but it's just locked. You can't go in. And until you've experienced it, it's hard to sort of put into words. I mean, that's the thing with spiritual things, with religion and faith. It's like I can sort of, I know I can feel it in my body, what I feel when I try and go somewhere, and it's just like you just don't connect. Just no, you're not ready for this. And then you would sort of say, okay, so what do I need to do to be ready for it? And that's I think the trick. Rather than go, oh, okay, I can't go there. The trick is to then say, okay, I would like to go there, because that's what the whole thing is about, developing. This is a personal development, spiritual development, soul journey. I want to develop myself. So what do I have to do to take the next step? And that is when the divine will say, you need to do this. Now, there may be people listening now that will go, do you know what? This is what I've been waiting for. I've been trying to get somewhere, but I don't know where to go. And I've asked the universe, send me a sign, send me something, put something on my path. Hey ho, they are here. And they'll go, yes, that. Do you know, it's that gut feeling?
Yeah.
Do you know when something feels right and something doesn't feel right? It's that.
Absolutely. And do you think, obviously, people who kind of, I'll use the word enlightened or spiritual, or on that journey, that soul journey, if you like, do you think they could be at any stage of that? Either they've been on that journey for a while, or they're just at the very early stages of exploring it?
Obviously, the further on the journey you are, the deeper you are going to go. But we all have to put a foot on that path if you want to go on that journey. I think my main concern would be if anybody hasn't got any sort of spiritual practice. Now, I am not marking anybody. I'm not checking anybody. It's like anything. They will get out of it what they put in, the time and effort that they put into it. They will then get the answers that they are searching for back. So I'm not trying to stop people who don't have a spiritual practice, because as I say, by doing it with a group, you actually get the feedback from the rest of the group. If I'm doing it on a one-to-one.
Yeah, that's quite valuable.
Yeah, if I'm doing it on a one-to-one, it's, I can give them feedback. Okay, try this. Have you asked that? But if it's, sometimes other people will have the answers. I don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the, well, God, the divine has all the answers. But there will be somebody else who has maybe had that experience that other person is having. And so when somebody voices that, I'm having problems with this, I'm not getting this, I can't seem to break through this barrier, somebody else will have the answer. As I say, I don't have all the answers. But somebody else would say, oh, I had that, and I found that, just setting my alarm 5 minutes earlier, just putting, we all, I think, I'm just as bad. You wake up in the morning, before your feet have even hit the floor, your mind is buzzing. What have I got to do? We don't put our feet on the floor with mindfulness, I guess, and say, I am rooting myself. I am putting my feet on the floor. I am rooting myself to Mother Earth. I am sending roots down to pull up the nutrition through the roots, through my feet. And then have a good old stretch and say, and I'm aligning with the higher realm. We just jump out of bed and we're off. Whereas if you just take 30 seconds to do that, my intention today is to slow down and smell the roses. But I think we have, as a culture, we've stopped so much. I mean, I was at school and we had assemblies and you had prayers, and whether or not you think that, learning the Lord's Prayer, it actually is a pretty good grounding.
Absolutely. And with regards to this, then, how long would each session take? So you're talking about one session per month. So is it a year-long course then?
It's a year-long course. So once you've had the session with the meditation, the invoking the oil, you will then have that to use through the month in your own time. Now, I think most people would say the best time to do it is first thing in the morning. The best time to do it is to set your alarm for half an hour earlier. But again, that's not suitable for everybody. But yes, you will then do it in your own time. But as I say, I've just decided that I will then put in a bonus midway through the month, I will do what you're doing, similar to here, saying, I am here. Does anybody, do you want to come and join me? This is when I'm going to be here. I mean, people will always be able to, email me, message me, all the ways that people can get in contact with you if they're having a problem during the year. And we will start off a community. So sorry, I feel like I've got a sneeze coming. We will have a community that people can ask from each other. I am not, my ego is not that big to say I am the only person that's going to have the answers on this course.
Yeah. And do you think that people who use essential oils then, because of this sort of sacred element to it, do you think they're not getting as much out of it as they possibly could?
People that have got essential oils like you that have bought a pack.
Yeah, people like me who you would probably hate what I do with essential oils, but yeah. Do you think that there's like grades of skills and how to, I mean that's really what you're teaching, isn't it? How to get the most out of the oil, the most benefit.
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, people can use them for physical or emotional ailments, and not meditate with them, not pray with them, not do anything spiritually. Now, the spiritual will be getting in, but it's not as it's not as deep. But the issue will still be getting it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
it does.
you may
Yeah, I
find
know.
that. So at the moment I am working with frankincense.
Yep. I've got some frankincense burning just now.
Yeah. Now that is on a mental level, that is good for people who have, recurring nightmares, bad dreams. Okay. If you're using it with a sort of a spiritual intention, you may find that that you still have those bad dreams, or you still have those dreams that you wake up thinking that wasn't very pleasant, but actually you can sit and get the meaning out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I have some absolutely crazy dreams, and I usually try and dissect them the next day. So let me just rewind on that. So you're saying that that particular oil is quite good for that particular thing if people are having these dreams.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how
And
do
yes, you can use it. So if somebody sort of says, oh, I can't sleep because I'm frightened that I'm going to have a bad dream, I might say to them, use frankincense to see if it helps you mentally not to have those bad dreams. Whereas somebody that's on the course might actually have pen and paper by their bed, and when they wake up in the middle of the night from a bad dream, they'll write down what they've had and then sit and meditate on what it meant later on. So yes, everybody is coming in at their level. We'll get different things from it.
and is frankincense one of the oils that you would be covering?
Frankincense is one of the oils, yeah.
Yeah. So how many essential oils are there? There's loads, isn't there? And you're going to
Yes.
cover 12. So basically, do you believe these are the 12 most powerful ones, the 12 most
I
sacred
don't
ones?
think they're the most. No. There's probably about 20. Going back to what I said earlier about the vibration, the energy of the plant that's in the oil. Okay. So what I have picked out of the 20 oils that are used by people who are working, death doulas, so people that are working in hospices, working people that are transitioning off of plane onto the next level, midwives, the birth midwives. Forgot where I was going with this now. So I have picked the ones that are probably the easiest out of the 20 that are identified by somebody called Felicity Warner, who trains death doulas, soul midwives. They are the ones that I would say, for me, are the easiest to use. I haven't gone for the oil that is for grief. Now, if somebody on the course came and said, somebody passed over 5 years ago and I can't get past that grief, I'm still grieving for them, then I might say to them, would you like a one-to-one? And let's look at the grief oil for you. But it's not something that I want to do for everybody.
And when they do it, just to picture this in my mind, so are you kind of saying that to get the best out of the course and the oil, that they're going to focus that whole month, you're going to give them stuff to do, and they're going to focus on working with just that oil that month, or
yes,
or particularly that oil, so that they really get to know the oil and what it does, and can actually suss out what the benefits are properly?
Yeah, it's, as I say, you can look at protection and go, oh yeah, you need to guard yourself, put a force field up, whatever people do to protect themselves, and they can do that in 2 minutes. Whereas if they actually sit with that, how do I protect myself? How do I strengthen my protection to deepen my spiritual journey so that I can then go into these darker places? Because, whether we like it or not, the dark places are where our development comes.
Yep.
Yeah. So you need to protect yourself, to go into those darker places, to then be able to develop that aspect of your soul, to then go on to the next step.
Joy, tell me then, let's look over a 12-month period. So you've got the myrtle for protection, you've got the frankincense for a number of benefits, dream analysis. You would word it better than me. I'm not saying I'm an expert by any stretch of the imagination. What am I going to get in terms of all the benefits over the 12-month period? What kind of outcomes would I expect to see? If you could sort of run me through a basic list of the...
Well, I would say that most people will be triggered for something. Now, they may get angry, they may get really sad, they may get very frustrated, and they don't know why they are being triggered, why the same person, why the same thing that comes up time and time again is triggering them. So if somebody is an angry person and wants to deal with their anger, then this course will help them to do that, help them be a nicer person. Spiritually developed people generally are nicer people to be around, because they don't fly off the handle. Yep. When something triggers them, we haven't got a long time to go into things, but I would be triggered by my husband doing things. Now, I know he wasn't doing them to send me into a bad mood, but I did. And then when you have the time to go, okay, I need to sit down and ask myself what this is that is being triggered. Now, I'm not sure whether I even told you this, but I was adopted. And I did loads of work on rejection, absolutely loads of work on rejection. Mm-hmm. And then one day my husband came home from the shops and he hadn't bought something that I drink and he doesn't, and that just triggered me, You don't love me. You don't care about me. You haven't brought back what I want. Furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
I went off to my place and said, okay, what is this? What has been triggered? And it was like rejection. It's like, it can't be rejection. I've done so much work on rejection. What is it? and it was like, so the question then is, so when did this thing happen to me that has been triggered? And the minute the split second, and I'm sure everybody that's on this will recognize this. The second you ask the question, you'll get the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But until you ask that question, so until I'd asked that question, at what point did this thing happen that triggered me 60, 59 years down the line? And it was at birth. So that was the answer, at birth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I can't remember my birth. And again, the answer just came down, but your soul can. So
Yeah.
my soul remembered what it felt like to not be put in my mother's arms at birth. Yeah. And so whenever somebody did something that my soul interpreted as, you don't care, you don't want to hang around, you don't want to stay around, I was triggered to that point of birth. So there is an oil, Raven Sarah, that helps people with soul wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was a very, very deep soul wound.
And then nothing else would get to that kind of soul wound apart from this kind of sacred oil. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say that there is nothing else that would get
but
to it.
It's a fast track or an easier route or a natural way.
Yes, it's gentle. And there are oils like rose is loving your inner child. Which is huge for me. And it was something like for years, it's like, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that. I'm not good enough. I can't love my inner child to actually work with it. And step by step, it's like, okay, yes, I am. I'm as worthy as the next person. I mean, you probably read the post that I put out yesterday about, struggling to see the awesomeness that is me,
For your birthday.
that is everybody. We are all awesome. We are all part of the universe. We are all a star in the galaxies or whatever. But actually believing I wouldn't have been doing this course 5 years ago. I can't do this. I can't. I've got nothing to say. Nobody's going to want to listen to me. Do you know? And again, it was sitting in a meditation one day and saying, what's the worst thing that can happen? Mm-hmm. What's the worst thing that can happen if I don't do what I'm thinking of doing? And the answer came back with like, thousands of people are going to miss out on your wisdom.
That's a very good point. And actually, we'll help with that as well, Joy, because you've got that flexibility there. I mean, obviously, the course is cheaper, paid up front over the year, and that's someone investing in the idea. That's the good energy, isn't it? They come forward and they invest and they commit, and now they've bought something.
Yeah.
And now
yeah. As I say, for anybody that wants to do it on a month by month basis, it's £30. Now I don't know how much a cup of coffee in Starbucks or because I don't buy them, but it's like it's a cup of coffee a day, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's what they'll get out of it, and they'll know once they've done it. And then what have you lost? £30, or what have you gained? £3 million worth of value for you.
Yeah. I mean, when I did a course a few years ago, I mean, I paid £1,200. I paid £100 a month to do something similar. To meet with somebody, to look at different aspects. Now we were looking at, love and tolerance and patience and, but yeah, I saw it as an investment. And so this to me is like a, I'm paying back from what I learned through that course. I am now paying back using what is my passion, which is the aromatherapy. But I appreciate that it's out of your 25,000, I don't know how many members you've got now on Awaken pages.
30,000 almost. Yeah,
it's not for everybody. But
we get that.
I couldn't cope with
It amazes me every
25,000
day,
people.
Joy, that I'm actually not for everybody. I find it hard every day. No, we totally get it. No, listen, you can't. We get that with posts. We could put up a post, and vast majority of the members love it, and then you get 5 or 6 people calling you out. Oh, you're this, that, you're this, that, the next thing, because you've chosen to do a post. 99% of people love it, and the odd person doesn't. That's fine. We get used to that.
And again, that years ago, that one person would have triggered me, and I would have spent so much energy angsting over that person that didn't like me. They've rejected me, but now it's like, okay.
Yeah, well, that's I'm
Can't please
much
everybody,
better.
can
I'm
I?
much better at that now. Do you know what, Joy? That's the benefit, isn't it? You're going to be in this Zoom with, again, there's no coincidences. The right people are going to turn up on the pay-as-you-go monthly, or they're going to lock in for the year, and you're all going to get to know each other, and you're all going to put your hearts and souls on the table, and you're going to lead the way, but there's going to be things that come out, and what you say is going to help them, and what somebody else says we're going to help them, and the magic will just gel and work together, and that's the beauty of what you're doing. So I'd suggest to people to get along there, and to commit to the full course, or to try the monthly courses. But either way, get jump in with both feet, and put your heart and soul into it, and I think you'll get something really, really valuable out of it. I really think they will. As I said, Joy, I've watched the way you work, and you're a good worker, and I think some really good stuff's going to come out of this for sure. I'm absolutely convinced of it. So yeah, well done. So, and we'll promote that, Joy, as you get to your monthly course. We'll do a wee quick plug on it, just as because you've been a good supporter of ours. So we'll keep sort of just, Joy's got this coming up, and you can join tonight type idea. And the right person will see it at the right time, and it'll be what they need that day. And then they might come along for the rest of the stuff as well. So yeah, it would help if you could maybe tell me what the course is and the content, and we'll, as I said, we'll pin that out there for you, because the more members we're going, as you go through the year, we'll have 100,000 members halfway through this year.
Yeah. And it may be, as I say, I've got half a dozen people that are interested. It may be that I go off with those half a dozen and I refine it, and they give me feedback. And in 3 months, 6 months time, or when the clocks go back, as I say, for me, winter time is when my sales just go off the roof. But you don't have. It doesn't have to be dark to sit and meditate.
I get that though. I can get that side of it for sure.
Yeah. It's developing a spiritual practice.
Yeah, it's good. Well, listen, Joy, that says we've ran a wee bit over. I'm sure we could talk a lot longer, but we try and keep these wee sessions to half an hour. So thank you to everybody who turned up. Anybody who didn't get to watch the live can watch the recording of it, and we'll do a few further promotions on it within the group. Joy, I can't post to the group, as you know, just now until Sunday. I'm banned for doing absolutely nothing. So we've had to go live to YouTube tonight, as opposed to YouTube and the group. But we'll post it back into the group to make sure it makes up for that as well. But thank you very much, Joy. Thank you to everybody who's came along. And yeah, we hope you get lots of people turning up. The right people will turn up, Joy. I've got no doubts about that. And whether it's a small, medium, or large course, it will take its own natural course, and it will develop its own little personality. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people get a lot more money, a lot more value than you could ever put a price on. I think it'll be priceless to a lot of people what you're actually doing. So well done, and it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you again.
Pleasure to chat to you, Steve, and we look forward to having you back on real time in a few days' time.
I'll be back on Sunday until they find some other excuse. But thanks very much, Joy. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you to
Blessings to
everybody.
everybody.